Welcome to the VET S.O.S podcast, brought to you by the Who You Know Network. We're proud members of the Parade Day community as well. And as always, don't forget, don't drown to see a transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline. Today, we're sitting down with Jason David, veteran advocate. He's going to be talking with us about the work he does to support our veteran community and some of the valuable resources that he recommends. Looking forward to getting into that conversation. But first, Keith, welcome back. How you doing, buddy?
Good to be here as always, Sean. How you doing?
And living the dream.
Yeah, nightmares and dreams too.
Yeah, I don't know whose dream it is, but somebody. I'm living it for him. Yep. All right, so we'll jump right into it. We got Chief Master Sergeant, retired Jason A. David. He completed his distinguished career serving as the command senior enlisted leader for the Defense Media Activity. In this role, he provided guidance and administration to 1,500 joint service members and government civilians in the Armed American Forces Network, media production operations, Web.mil, Stars and Stripes, mission support, the Defense Information School, and operations at 26 radio and television stations, 3 headquarters facilities, and a broadcast center that service a combined 400,000 military, government civilians, and their family overseas. That is a mouthful in itself. He continues to get back to the veteran community, volunteering in numerous organizations. Outstanding, Jason. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Good morning, and how are you two doing today?
Doing fantastic. Excited to get into this and learn a little bit about how your transition and everything went.
So I'm coming up on a year after my retirement from the military, and I tell you, Sean, I've never had more fun in my entire life than going through this extremely turbulent journey that is the military transition.
Oh man,
I can only like a champ right there.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So we've had the opportunity to talk to John Wayne Troxel, the third SEAC, and hear his transition. He tells us how he was in Afghanistan with President Trump 10 days out from retirement. It's like, so everybody has a different story. I love hearing it from the senior side of the house. So how did your transition process work? How did it go?
So my story, I think, is a little different than most because I was in the communication field. The power of networking, right? The power of effective communication. Those are all things that were super important, not just in my career, but as an effective way to kind of bridge that gap between active duty and transitioning into whatever my chapter 2 is going to look like. So I started my LinkedIn years ago, and I think it's because of those hearty relationships that actually that were genuine, right? You're not just clicking people to hit add. You would click people, find a way to engage them, have a phone conversation, get on a video chat, and just try to get to know people to see if maybe you can support them, or in the end, if they can support you. And I did that for many years, and now I have kind of a cult following on LinkedIn where some of my posts reach anywhere from 500,000 to 1 million people, and all of it has to do with veterans benefits. Right, because that's something I'm passionate about as a Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force. Taking care of the team, that was my charge, right? But all throughout the NCO ranks, that's stuff that's beat into our heads as we grow up in the military, and that means something to me. Maybe I'm brainwashed, maybe I'm not, but I think I'll continue to try to take care of the team regardless of where I sit until the day I'm dead.
You're talking to 2 senior NCOs as well. That's the life, right? It's in our DNA, and just something we're passionate about doing and love doing, and that's just fantastic. So now that you find yourself in retirement, what types of things are you trying to do, or organizations are you working with to try to help the veteran community and the service members?
Sure. So as a Purple Heart recipient myself, right? I was gifted the relationships with people like the Salute Military Golf Association, Move United, Stop Soldier Suicide, and the Military Order of the Purple Heart. Right. These are all nonprofits that really mean a lot to me because they help folks that are ill or injured kind of get back on their feet through just getting together, kind of resilience training. I'll tell you that I've had a number of surgeries. Most of my insides are fake. So both my shoulders, my spine, both of my hips, it's all titanium, right? And I couldn't move after surgery the way that you want to. Luckily, through the PGA Hope Program of America and the Salute Military Golf Association, they have these adaptive sports clinics where if you're just kind of out of shape or you can't move the way you're supposed to, in addition to physical therapy, they will put you in a sports program to kind of build you back up. And luckily I was able to be a participant in those programs. After I healed and got, halfway decent at, hitting a golf ball, I realized that I should probably be a board member right? So that I can encourage more vets and more military people transitioning and even retirees to become a part of those programs. So, Sean, I'm going to bore you real quick. I'm going to list them off. I'm a part of, like I said before, the Military Order of the Purple Heart, which is America's oldest private organization, and it's a beautiful cause. I'm also a member of First Tee. I'm a regional board member for First Tee of America, which is kind of like Boy and Girl Scouts of America, but geared using golf and gearing those life lessons to help kids out as they grow older and arm them with the same sort of core values that you get in the military. And then just a few more. What's near and dear to my heart is getting information out there so that you don't have to spend money. One of the more popular posts that I put on LinkedIn was unemployed compensation for ex-service members, UCX. You remember when you guys looked at your pay stubs and you saw FICA and FICA Social Security?
Yeah.
Do you know what FICA stands for? I don't. I still don't know what FICA stands for, but I know it's tax for something, right? Years later, I realized that if you are getting out of the military at the 4-year mark and you can't find a job because you picked a really hard job for, translation into the civilian sector, you can file for unemployment in your state. Unemployment's good. It's a good bridge gap. But did you know that the money that you paid into FICA went straight into that program, and each state has a enhanced version of unemployment called UCX. So let's talk getting out of the service as an E5. Maybe your unemployment for every 2 weeks might be $2,000, right? Well, UCX might be $3,000. There's a pay chart that goes over it. It's a higher rate than what regular civilians get, as America's way of saying thank you for your service, and we're going to help you get back on your feet. This is the most unknown information ever. It got over 2,000 shares within a couple of months because it's important information. And I think that's what drives folks like you, Sean and Keith, to do podcasts like this, to have folks like me on and try to spread the wealth, spread the knowledge, right? So I'm definitely a fan of that. And furthering, I apologize if I'm going too long, but if I'm following that compensation train, right? Blue Cross Blue Shield of America reached out to me and said, hey, we know that health matters a lot to you, and we know that compensation for veterans that are transitioning means a lot. Would you help us spread not just the news about us, but about the FedVIP program and the BenFeds program? And I said, I don't know what either of those are, but they sound vaguely familiar. Well, it's the medical for eye vision and dental that GS employees use. When you transition and retire, it's also open to you as well. And some of those rates are extremely, extremely low. And I'm not trying to pay full price for anything. I love a discount.
Nice. That's fantastic. And I think the post you were just talking about, I think that's the one where I reached out to you and we originally connected, because that was something I had never heard of either. It was fascinating to read about that and learn about it. And that's just awesome. I mean, come on, Keith. I mean, we're all retired and we've all had various struggles, right? And it's all about finding the best ways to give back.
I mean, job security is now, even for me, it's kind of an issue for me right now. But anyway, all that to say, but even with 2 kids, one just got out of the Coast Guard. My other son's planning to getting out of the Army here this coming summer. To know that I had no idea. So now you got me curious. I'm going to go look this up and read into it more. My one guy out of the Coast Guard, he's going to college on his GI Bill, so he didn't need it. But the Army boy, he's not quite sure what he wants to be when he grows up. So, I mean, these kinds of resources, I've been out 5 years and I live and breathe in this space of resources and getting the word out. And today I have learned something new. So thank you, Jason.
You might actually find that it's more beneficial than you think, Keith. There's each UCX, each unemployment compensation for ex-service members program, is administered by the state, right? So there's a federal, mandate out there, and there's state guidance and policy. And so some states give UCX without deduction to retirees. Some states just give you the whole amount. Like I said, there's a chart out there. If you type in UCX, or even just go to my LinkedIn page and find the post that I was talking about. I took a screenshot of the actual chart, so it's just super easy to read. There's a lot of states that give you retroactive payments. So in one of the cases, this guy had already got a job 10 years later. He saw my post, went back to his state, I won't name the state, and said, hey, I was unemployed for 2 years and I was struggling. It was the hardest time in my life. And I was constantly looking for a job, and you guys gave me unemployment, and I'm very thankful. But I just realized for 20 years, or not 20 years, for 15 years, I had paid into this program. I was wondering if you could take a look back and see if this applies to me. And the registrar at his state said, absolutely, we'll take a look at it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming at us so kind. The guy got like 40,000 in compensation.
Dang.
You get what I mean? And so, but again, it's not like he was asking for something that wasn't his. It would have been rightly given to him had he applied and known about it. So again, if you or your friends or your family, in your case, Keith, if anyone you know is thinking about transitioning, or is transitioning from the military, or is retiring from the military, the sooner they can get this information, the better, because then it helps like parents with small children. I mean, that's income that's going to help you out. And again, you paid into it using that FICA and FICA Social Security that you were so confused that was on your pay stub for many years.
Who knew we were going to be breaking down the pay stub today?
Right.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Oh man. So, aside from giving general advice in some of these boards that you sit on, are there any organizations that you work with or have worked with and recommend to other people to utilize during their transition period?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm also, humor me. I always get told that I do too many things and I have too much on my plate, but I'm also a senior advisor for Miltrack, which is the Military Transition and Calendar website. So it's miltrack.com. Mm-hmm. And if you in or Facebook and type in Military Transition and Calendar website, the whole thing, it's got just a plethora of information, not just for people in Texas, but for folks that are getting out of the military. That's a good one-stop shop. As you make your way forward.
We're partnered with them as well. They're actually on our website, and all our podcasts wind up on the calendar.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work with Matt Shearer back in the past years. So
yeah, and the parent board is the Military Transition Roundtable. It's just folks like you guys and myself that are trying to get together to find creative ways to get this info out. No one really makes any money, and I don't make any money doing any of this stuff. It's just it gives me purpose. So I have a day job, which I absolutely love that I got when I got out of the military. But this is what gives me purpose. This is what makes me happy.
That's awesome. That's something we all need to find, right? So, I mean, we talk about that all the time, Keith.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the biggest piece of advice you would give to a transitioning service member right now?
You have to figure out what your 50, 100, and 250 meter targets are, right? And I mean that in the most basic of senses, like reality versus what you fantasize about as you make your transition. I will tell you that if you were to look at my biography today, you would say that's impossible. How did this guy get to this place? So a year out, I'm the senior vice president at an IT firm. A little bizarre, right? But that's not. It wasn't gifted, right? That was kind of a meticulous array of networking prior to getting out, so that even if I got the job, that I didn't fail, right? So there's a lot of hookups, if you will, in the industry. They're like, oh, we'll hire you because we know this guy from way back when, and then you get fired in 2 weeks because you can't get past the fake the funk phase, right? And so my advice to you, or to any transitioning service member, is find out what you want to do, right? And if you find out what you want to do and you turn it into what your chapter 2 looks like, that's very similar to looking off into the horizon and picking which destination that you want to walk towards, right? You might get there really fast. It might take forever to get there. But as long as you have a goal in mind, like if I was to look down the street and say, hey, I want to make it to that Dairy Queen, I'm good. I have good reason to get to that Dairy Queen, right? There's that upside down blizzard thing that I really want. If I know that it is, 4 clicks to the right and it's northeast to the north, I'm going to keep walking there. And eventually I'm going to find other people that are along for the ride that are going to help me through the network. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask for things. I think one of the biggest, and I like wrapping everything to veterans affairs benefits. I think the biggest reason that veterans are underserved in their compensation is that machismo, attitude where you say, I don't need help. Don't worry about me. If I admit defeat, they won. I'm at fault, right? I'm not trying to show any weakness in front of my brothers and sisters. That is the dumbest mentality ever, right? It's great when you're 18 to 25 and you're going right down into the fight because it kind of pumps you up. But as soon as you hit 30, one knee starts to hurt. As soon as you hit 40, all the things start to hurt, right? And if you're in your 50s, well, you know, taking naps is how you like re-embrace life. So, biggest advice to you guys that are listening: take comfort in knowing that veterans like Sean, veterans like Keith, veterans like myself, we've been in your shoes. We've done exactly what you're about to do, or maybe you're listening and you've done it right now, and you had that mentality. You got to ask for help, and it is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's a sign of strength, because when we brothers here and sisters that are sharing information out to the network, that's what builds the network to make it stronger. And that's us giving assistance. So isn't that the same as asking for help?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, I keep hearing the key word here, networking, right? And, you know, I operate, again, in the same space. So yeah, I'm constantly preaching the same message kind of thing. I loved how you talked about, though, having that goal short term may take a while, right? So, you know, I tend to operate in the cybersecurity realm with the nature of my job. And so all that to say, like, I get veterans all the time. Hey, Keith, I want to pivot into cybersecurity. They didn't do it at all in uniform. And they have the desire to pivot, like they want to start next week. You know, being a CISO, you know, or being an IT guru for the layman, you know, next week making $200,000 a year, and it's like, okay, you know, and then we have to have those hard conversations. So, not just cybersecurity, but for the folks that are facing those longer journeys, what advice would you give to them to because they still got to earn a paycheck, right? They still got to make ends meet, and they have this goal. They know it's going to take a couple years to maybe get fully pivoted into that industry. What would you say to them on to just stay afloat and stay motivated and keep going?
So I love that, Keith, because as you're talking, there's so many different, you know, journey streams that are going off in my head. So in IT, for example, I'm actually a CX person, right? So CX for people that are not in IT is the marketing, the communications, the customer journey maps. It's a very IT focused, like, inside and outside communications role, where you're trying to shape, you know, the relationship with the customer, but at the same time making sure that, you know, the end state is met. And it is very nerdy, and I absolutely love it, right? But I would have never known about the job, or that MOS, that AFSC, that rate, if I hadn't started networking years before I transitioned. Before, I didn't even know what that was. It might have been, you know, something on my graphing calculator, but I was happy to find out that it was a job that my skill set could translate to. As far as getting to your goals, right, and tempering your expectations, some people will leave the military fully qualified to just drop into whatever you want to do. If you're in medical and you're a neurosurgeon, pretty sure you're going to be able to find a job at most hospitals that are looking for neurosurgeons, right? Yeah, but what if you're an 11 Bravo, right? What if you're military intel? What if you are a particular skill set that doesn't equate to something on the civilian side too easy, and you want to do what Keith says and transition and bridge your gap toward something like IT? You have two options. The first option is plan early. You can get as many certifications through your service that you're in right now and try to just knock them out. Not a degree, certifications, and just hold them in your back pocket. There's nothing wrong with getting a certification and just holding on to it for 10 years. I know, because I became an ordained minister that way, and a notary public, right? It wasn't a bet. You know, I just wanted to see if I can do it. And, you know, I've actually married a couple before because I was able to do that. So I digress.
Nice.
That's besides the point, right? The second option, aside from collecting as many certifications and as much education as you can prior to departing, is your journey the day you are no longer active duty. You don't have to go to work. You don't. You've got so many options out there that are so helpful, that are only for veterans. Only for veterans. If you are rated by the VA and you have a favorable rating, and you have something, I think it's 30 or 40% or higher, you are allowed to apply for Veterans Readiness and Employment. So VR&E. It's dissimilar and similar to the Montgomery and post 9/11 GI Bill, except it's a career track school program. You can go up to your counselor and say, I would like to be the manager, right, of this company one day. Or I would like to, in the government, one day be a GS-13 or be a GS-15. If there are education requirements to get you to those wickets, your counselor, if they approve it, will set you up to get whatever education you need, whatever certification you need, to at least meet the baseline requirements for applying for that job. The VA's VR&E program is one of the most beautiful programs I've ever seen. It is just outstanding. And at the same time, it doesn't expire like the post 9/11 GI Bill. There's no time limit on it, and you also get the same housing rate that you would get for both bills. All that to say, if you had transferred maybe some of it to your spouse or transferred some of it to your kid, now you're able to divide and conquer. You earn that right to transfer that to your dependents, and now VR&E can help you out with what your career plans are. And now you're a professional student for a couple of years, and you're still getting money. There's still income coming into the house. I think that's a beautiful thing, Keith. And I apologize. That's a really long answer for just one track, but there's so many more.
It's absolutely amazing. And it's funny that you mentioned VR&E, because just coincidentally this week I was talking with a veteran, and again, there's some things going on in my line of work, in my industry, and I'm like, suddenly I have certifications, and so I was talking about one of my certifications that's about to expire, and my employer, who paid for me to get the certification, is now not willing to pay for me to recertify it. And I preach VR&E all day long to folks, and the veteran I'm talking to, he's like, well, have you thought about VR&E to go renew your certification? I was like, son of a gun. Like, we don't even practice what we preach sometimes, or we lose sight of it. We get caught up in the midst of everything, and we don't even see some of the stuff we're preaching ourselves. So no, that's amazing stuff. What are your thoughts, Sean? You're kind of quiet over there.
I'm just thinking about the struggles I've had with VR&E here in Florida.
Oh, okay.
I completely agree. A fantastic program. We have some statewide issues, let's say, at this point, that they're trying to work through. So hopefully, in the near future, I'll be able to be a participant in that. But that's fantastic. I think VR&E is absolutely what you said, one of the best programs out there, especially for people who do divide up their GI Bill for their family, because now you're covering multiple bases and helping everybody, which is just fantastic.
So, Sean, in addition to VR&E, I think Keith's original question was, what other piece of advice do we have for folks that want to get into other career paths, right? So you have things like VR&E, but you also have yourself to count on, right? So you could get, I think it's up to a year afterwards. You still have access to doing things like CLEP test, right? Or DSSTs, or any other exams that the military will pay for. In the case of retirement, not just transitioning, have you guys ever been to EBSCO before? EBSCO?
Seen it, heard of it, but I've never.
Okay, so it's the digital library that's hosted by DoD Libraries.mil, right?
Oh yeah.
And so, as a retiree, you actually have access to EBSCO, right? Which is all the study guides for all the CLEP tests, the practice exams, the videos, I'm really tired and I don't have time to read, 3 months worth of stuff. So let me just cram as much stuff as I can, and practice tests, right? All these things to prepare you to demolish a CLEP in as little time as possible. All those resources are available to you as well. So yeah, one of the ways to better yourself is to get educated, right? Your degree doesn't necessarily matter as much as you getting out there and getting a decent relationship, but it's certainly helpful, right? I'll tell you that as an employer now, there's a lot of people that'll come in and say, hey, I got a PhD in whatever. And I'll say, that's great. So what practical experience do you have? Right. And who do you know? Right. And it's not that education's not important, but it has to be attached to something. So that's where your military, it's where your military experience comes in handy. I'll give you one more reason why I'm even bringing up the job thing. So have you guys been to abe.work, abe.work? So I know the CEO there, she's in charge of this startup, and she's got a free service for veterans, and it is taking your NCOERs, taking your Air Force EPRs, taking your fit reps from the Navy, and you just drop them into the chatbot, and it'll kick you out, very helpful resume data, but it'll decode military speak. So that's a project that she's been working on, and there's a couple of other sites out there that will help you put your best foot forward. I think the reason I brought that up is you need to work on your resume.
Yeah.
You want to get into IT like Keith? There's a couple of ways you can convince the person through an interview, or you can humanize your resume so that it makes sense.
Yeah.
And if there are a gajillion YouTube classes on how to do that, but find what works for you. But understand that civilians have a deep appreciation for the military. They do not have a deep appreciation for the fact that you spend 47 hours on one bullet on your NCOER to make it look perfect so it hides behind the circle, right? They don't care. and they don't care about acronyms, and they don't care about truncated words. They just want to know what you did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man, speaking my language, for sure. In fact, I was like, how are we not connected on LinkedIn yet? But we will be soon. So, but yeah, no, and you hit the nail on the head. Like I always tell people, yeah, it's networking and it's resumes. They both got to be rock solid. I've seen rock solid resumes. You don't know somebody in the inside, it's an uphill battle. I've seen people network their way in. They got a garbage resume and they still don't get the interview. But yeah, I mean, it's just and sorry, I do want to throw out one resource because you're throwing out some amazing resources, but just maybe jog one that's fairly up and coming, a startup. So if you've heard of VET S.O.S, which is a nonprofit working in the veteran space to help folks pivot into cybersecurity, but they just created an AI bot called Battle Buddy, the Battle Buddy AI bot, and it's doing a lot of those same things. So not to compete or anything like that. I feel like hey, there's all these different resources, leverage all of them, for crying out loud. So this is amazing. And we're almost at time, Sean.
I know.
This is your guys' fault. This is your guys' fault.
It's fantastic though, because I mean, it's a lot of times we're just talking about one organization, right? And in this one, I got 3 or 4 new tabs open on my web browser right now to check out later today that I wasn't even tracking on. And then you start talking about there we go. I'm gonna knock my whole computer down. That'll be great. The AI side of it, we just talked. My camera's auto tracking now. We did AI ready veteran. We just had them on, and the stuff that they're doing, and so it's fantastic to see, one, how the community is embracing technology, and 2, how our service members and people transitioning can make use of these great new tools, and just make it easier and easier. Because like we talked about earlier today, I told my dad all the things that were available to me when I retired that he didn't have in 93. 3 years from now, imagine what people are going to be telling us about transition that, we're like, oh my God, this is amazing, compared to what we had, it's going to be just absolutely ridiculous. So it's fascinating to hear this stuff. I really love it.
So Sean, I know we were coming close on time, and I'm a little long winded. I did that circuit in the military where you just talk a lot and everyone's like, yeah, I think that's important. Probably not. Right. So these are the things that I want to get across to the folks that are paying attention to your fabulous podcast. Right. The first one is your VA compensation post-military service. Right. There is a stigma out there that you have to be like me or even more messed up than me. Like I can't even walk right. But that's okay. And I've got enough prosthetics in my body to when I get cremated one day, when I pass away, hopefully many years down the road, I will look like a box of spare parts from Radio Shack. That's just the way it is. But I've known a lot of folks that have felt, guilty about applying for veterans compensation, guilty that, I'm not as bad off as the next guy. So just imagine that I belong to the Military Order of the Purple Heart, right? I am a part of almost every Wounded Warrior program out there. So the actual Wounded Warrior program, civilian organization, the Air Force Wounded Warrior program, like I said, Move United, who is the adaptive sports program for all of America. And there are people that are missing limbs and people that have just catastrophic injuries to their bodies. And, even I was like, well, I can't, my legs don't work right, but at least I have them. So that thought comes across to me. And I've talked to veterans that said, hey, JD, I know that you're kind of messed up, so you deserve your benefits, but there's nothing wrong with me. Okay, so we need to reset what normal looks like. If you were in the military for any amount of time, understand if you actually read the CFR, which is like the Bible book for the VA compensation process, it will tell you exactly why you're being compensated. Do you have this amount of pain or this amount of flexion in this particular part of your body? And if you do, and it's a direct result of military service, we're going to make sure you get compensated. So I like to equate it this way. Keith, you were a brand new Ford Bronco. Okay. When you first joined the military, brand new Ford Bronco. I would have picked a different car.
Let's go Raptor. I like the Raptors better.
Okay. You want to be a Raptor?
Yeah, I want to be a Raptor.
All right. So you're a Ford Raptor and you're brand new, got brand new tires. Your transmission is fine. The muffler sounds great. The engine roars. And then you drive that Ford Raptor for 20 years. Okay. 20 years. That's like 10 different sets of tires. Your transmission already went out because you stalled out in the middle of the highway. you've had to change out your alternator and your starter because you killed the battery because it's got that silly auto start stop, right? Because that's what the military told you to do, is to get that start stop. And your seats are torn on the inside and your axle is bent. That's what the military pays you for, or not the military. That's what the VA pays you for. It's mileage on your body for deployments. It's mileage on your body for jumping out of a helicopter. It's mileage on your body for getting a traumatic brain injury that people weren't paying attention to. You don't have to lose a limb just to get VA compensation. That's not what it's about. It's about the fact that your civilian counterparts are not in the same physical state that you, and they might be that same Ford Raptor 20 years later, but they only got 10,000 miles. You have 250,000 miles. You guys don't run the same. It's just not right. Hopefully that metaphor makes sense.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, I might steal it if you don't mind.
Sure, please.
I like it. So, yeah, Jason, this has been an amazing episode. I love nothing against any of our other guests that have programs, but I love, because this is my heart, I love when we just get a mentor on the show, somebody who's just freelancing and just you're in the trenches. You're on your boots on ground fighting the fight. So Jason, thank you so much for coming on, man. This was an amazing episode. And hopefully we'll get you back on again soon. So on behalf of the VET S.O.S family, we'd like to thank everyone for oh, wait, no, time out. Hold on a second. No. How do people get in touch with you, Jason? I need to allow you to just say that.
Yeah, I would prefer random people not hit me up on Facebook, because that's like the only social platform that I'm comfortable using. But professionally, if you hit me up on LinkedIn, it's just type in Jason David. You'll see me.
All right. And for those that are watching the screen, you got his LinkedIn URL at the bottom of the screen scrolling across as well, so you can find him that way. So, all right, now I can say it. So on behalf of the VET S.O.S family, we'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. VET S.O.S is growing and spreading its wings. You can follow us on all of those social media platforms that are out there. Please make sure to check us out, all three of our shows, and follow and subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts from. We're on YouTube, Reach Across America Radio, Preg Deck, you name it, we're out there. And remember, folks, don't drown in the sea of transition. Grab the VET S.O.S Lifeline.